Hey there, it's Shauna. Welcome to your weekly astrology forecast for October 1st. So this week is all about digging deep. This week we have some aspects involving Pluto and some other deeply feeling aspects. So I'm excited, as always, to share the astrology of this week with you. And then I have 3 tips for you to make the most out of this week. So let's get started. First thing that we have going on this week is the last quarter moon in the sign of Cancer. So this is happening Tuesday, early morning hours Pacific time, Tuesday at 2:45 a.m. Pacific time at 9 degrees of Cancer. And so the last quarter moon is the point in the lunar cycle before the new moon happens. So it's known as a time when we're really grappling with what it is that we want to finish, what it is that we want to let go of. It's an internal prioritizing process. And this being in the sign of Cancer, this means that there's a lot of feeling in this process. There's a lot of potential for going based on your gut and going based on an emotional motivation for what it is that you need to do. And so I encourage you to lean into that this week, especially Monday and Tuesday. It's like, okay, what is it that you feel is necessary at this time? And are you allowing for reason and critical thinking to be in there as well? Or are you going all in with the emotional process? Depending on your temperament, sometimes you may want to integrate more critical thinking versus not. But it's definitely about following that feeling and what feels good to you this week, where you need to prioritize, and how it is that you make decisions can definitely be more along the intuitive and gut level basis this week. Other thing that's happening Tuesday is Mercury will square Pluto. So Mercury is about logical, analytical thinking, your communication style, your communication process. And Pluto is the planet that's associated with the underworld, with the shadow, with the unconscious. Pluto acquaints us with the truth. And Pluto acquaints us with the truth that we need to know in order to connect at a more deep and fulfilling level. Pluto is also associated with power and how it is that we use our power and sense of authority. So this being a square, it is a more tense aspect. So, and Mercury is in the sign of Libra. So Libra is about wanting to make things work out harmoniously, to find a balance here. So this is really about thinking about and communicating about things in a deep and meaningful way. It's like, okay, and it may feel uncomfortable too because it's a square. It's like there's a desire to do the Mercury and Venus thing, which is like, hey, can't we all just get along? Like, what's the most diplomatic and fair and just situation? And then Pluto is like, no, what is really important, what is really sustainable, and what needs to change at a core level. So those may be conversations that come up. Again, they're not conversations that I would say feel comfortable, but they're important conversations. And so I definitely encourage you to lean into communicating in a way that, of course, is kind and also honest at the same time, and that honors your values as well as the person that you're communicating with. And even just, I don't know, maybe new information comes to you, something that is very deep and meaningful. The other thing that's happening this week is Venus will station retrograde on Friday. So Venus will be retrograde from Friday, October 5th through November 16th. And Venus is the planet that's associated with relationships, love, beauty, sex, the things that we're drawn towards and the things that, of course, alternately we're repulsed by. And so Venus is also related to aesthetics. Like, it's all about, like, what is it that enchants you? What is it that magnetizes you? And so when Venus is retrograde, that means that you're reflecting on what it is that attracts you, what it is that magnetizes you. At a core level, this is really about what it is that you value. Venus is also associated with values, and for that reason associated with money too. So the next many weeks through to November 16th are going to be a time where it's helpful for you to reevaluate what is it that motivates you? What do you value? How does your life reflect your values? And how do you even like express yourself sensually and sexually? And how are you motivated by beauty and harmony and balance? If you want to get it layered deeper into this, you can look at where Venus will be transiting in your birth chart. So Venus is going to station retrograde at 10 degrees of Scorpio, and then it's going to move backward in the zodiac, or appear to move backward in the zodiac to Libra. And then if I remember right, it stations at about 25 degrees of Libra, so late degrees of Libra. So it's going to be moving in that area, and that'll activate a certain area of your birth chart, which means it activates a certain area of your life. So those are the things that are happening this week. I'm going to pull a card, or no, before I pull a card, I'm out of order here. I have some tips for you. So tip number 1, give yourself space and time this week. Give yourself space and time to feel, to process. I don't see this as a week to like rush through making decisions and getting clear on things. I say that because it's the last quarter moon in the sign of Cancer. And so Cancer benefits from having space, time to process things. Cancer is a water sign, Cancer is a cardinal sign. So there's movement there, and it's good to allow for the movement, but there's no need to like force it or push it. It will happen. And also, I think with the Mercury square Pluto, that can be intense. It can be where conversations feel intense, thoughts feel intense. I mean, Pluto has no chill. And so good to give yourself space and time to process the feelings that come up with the new information or the conversations, etc. Tip number 2 is to think it through. And I say that because, again, Mercury, Pluto, it's definitely a more contemplative kind of energy. And when I say contemplative, I don't mean like getting lost in the clouds, but it's like there's something like meaty and juicy about what it is that you're thinking about this week. It has depth, and whatever it is that's going on in your life deserves some thought, deserves some contemplation. So that's tip number 2, to think it through. Tip number 3 is to contemplate your values. And so we could, of course, do this through the whole entire Venus retrograde process, but especially Friday. I mean, it may be nice just to set aside a few minutes to contemplate maybe 5 things that are really important to you, that you value at a deep and foundational level. What are the things that are very important to you? So those are your tips, and I will pull a card for us. So this is meant to be guidance and inspiration for the week. So this is from the Rider-Waite Tarot deck, the Radiant Rider-Waite. And so if there's a situation that or something that you're doing this next week, or that you want to think about, or something that's just on your mind, you can contemplate that now, or you can just relax as I get this ready. Okay. Ooh, this is a sweet card. Okay, so I pulled the Temperance. So this is actually an angel, and so the Temperance is about balance. Temperance is about having one foot in feeling, one foot in reason, one foot in the material world, one foot in the spiritual world. And it can even be, in more practical terms, if you have a lot of roles that you're juggling, this could be a sign to keep yourself balanced in all of those roles, and to avoid overcommitting or withdrawing yourself too much from any one situation. Some of the cool symbols that I want to point out here for this card are that the angel's feet, one is on the rock, one is in the water, so the material world, spiritual world, rational thought, unconscious thought, and then the angel's pouring water from one cup to another. This again is about balance and finding equanimity. So I think that's also really tuning into the Venus symbolism of finding balance and justice, and the Mercury in Libra element of finding that balance too. So I would say that's the focus here, is balance and finding the calm and the peace and the beauty in that. So that is your horoscope for the week. I hope that you liked this. If you did, please share it with a friend who you think would enjoy it as well. And other ways that you can connect with me, you can find me on Instagram under Neo-Feminine Astrology. I also made a guided meditation specifically for Venus retrograde for the whole period. So that's something that you can listen to on Friday throughout the whole process. That's on my YouTube channel, Neo-Feminine Astrology, under YouTube. And also, if you want to get deeper into the astrology, I'm hosting the Astrology for Empaths course that is starting in October 12th. And so I'll have more information in a link below on that. And until next time, I'll see you next week. Namaste.